switchboard's arrangements. Easy access. Switchboard shall be so arranged as to give an easy access needed to apparatus and the equipment in order to minimize danger to attendants. The side and backs are where necessary. The front of switchboard shall be suitably guarded. Exposed energized parts shall not be installed on the front of such switchboard. There shall be non-conducting mats or gratings at the front and rear. Where necessary, generator which is be automatically started. Capacity of the batteries. Each machine shall be equipped with starting arrangement with a storage energy capability of the least 3 consecutive starts. A second source of energy shall be provided to an additional 3 starts within 30 minutes unless hand or manual starting can be demonstrated to be effective. Distribution system. Hall return. Distribution system with hall return shall not be installed, but this does not preclude under approved conditions the installation of Empress current cathodic protective system, limited and locally grounded systems, or engine starting systems. Internal communication. Internal communication means communication should be valuable for transfer of information between species where an action may be necessary. So internal communication are very important so that we can communicate each other and also be clarified of what's the problem. Electrical installation in hazardous areas. Installation. Electrical equipment and cables installed in hazardous areas shall be limited to those necessary for operational purposes. They shall excluded from any compartment in which explosiveness are stored. Next is the main and emergency switchboards arrangement. Number 1. Easy access. Switchboard shall be so arranged as to give easy access needed to apparatus and equipment in order to minimize danger to attendants, the side and backs, and where necessary, the fronts of switchboards shall be suitably guarded, and exposed energized parts shall not be installed in the front of such switchboards. There shall be non-conducting mats or gratings at the front and rear where necessary. Distribution system with hall return shall not be installed, but this does not preclude under approved conditions the installation of A. Empress current cathodic protective systems, B. Limited and locally grounded systems or engine starting system, C. Limited and locally grounded welding system, and D. Insulation level monitoring devices provided the circulating current does not exceed 30 milliamperes under the most unfavorable condition when a distribution system, whether primary or secondary for power, heating, or lighting with no connection to ground is used. A device capable of continuously monitoring the insulation level to ground and of giving an audible or visual indication of abnormally low insulation values should be provided. Internal communication. Internal communication. Internal means of communication should be valuable for transfer of information between species where action may be necessary. Electrical installation in hazardous areas. Installation. Electrical equipment and cables installed in hazardous areas shall be limited to those necessary for operational purposes. They shall be excluded from any compartment in which explosives are stored. Where lighting is required, it should be achieved through the boundaries of the compartment. If electrical equipment cannot be excluded from such, it shall be so designed and used as to capable of continuously monitoring the insulation level to ground and of giving an audible or visual indication of abnormally low insulation value should be provided. So electrical insulation hazard is very important so that we will be able to know on how or which or where we should install that particular equipment for safety purposes. And next is propulsion machinery for drilling units. Application. This part of applies to drilling units designed to undertake self-propelled passages without external assistance and are not applicable to units which are fitted only with means for the purpose of positioning or of assistance in towing operation. Capable of operating. Main propulsion machinery and all auxiliary machinery essential to propulsion and the safety of the unit shall be capable of operating when the unit is upright and when inclined any angle of least up to including 15 degrees either way under static condition and 22.5 degrees under dynamic conditions either way and simultaneously inclined diametrically 7.5 degrees by bow or stem. Pneumatic control and other loads. Electric power. Electric power is required for monitoring and measuring drilling and rig activity, including computers, data logging equipment, visual computer controllers, undersea TV, communication equipment, work area, laboratories, test equipment, and maintenance facilities. Lighting protection. Adequate lighting protection. The offshore oil ring hose must extend several hundred meters from the open sea surface shall be provided with adequate lightning protection as specified in Article 9.5. Emergency electrical system, general, independent supply. Every watercraft shall be provided with a self-contained emergency source of power which is independent from the main electrical power plant and electric propulsion plant and shall function satisfactorily when the watercraft is listing or inclined to 22.5 functions degrees and or the rim is 10 degrees. B. Emergency lights. The emergency lights shall be lighted automatically upon failure of the main source of power. C. Storage battery. No emergency storage battery shall be installed in the same space as the emergency switchboard. Location requirement. The location of emergency source of power in relation to the main source of electric power shall be such as to ensure the fire or other casualty will not interfere with the supply or distribution of emergency power. B. On watercraft for passenger service. On watercraft for passenger service, the emergency power source and emergency switchboard shall be located above the uppermost continuous deck and outside the machinery casing above the freeboard deck, whichever is higher. On watercraft for cargo carrier. On watercraft for cargo carrier and miscellaneous craft including tankers, the emergency power source and emergency switchboard shall be located above the uppermost continuous deck and outside the machinery casing. For type and capacity of emergency source of electric power. A. Sources. The emergency source of electric power shall be either a generator and or a storage battery. 1. Emergency generator. When the source of electric power is a generator, it shall be automatically started and connected to the emergency switchboard within 45 seconds of loss of the main source of electrical power. It shall be driven by a prime mover with an independent fuel supply having a flash point of not less than 43 Celsius. Storage battery. Where the emergency source of electric power is storage battery, it shall be capable of supplying the emergency loads enumerated in table 9.28.1.4 without recharging while maintaining the voltage of the battery throughout the discharge period within 12% if it is normal voltage, and shall automatically connect to the emergency switchboard upon failure of the main source electrical power. Emergency switchboard. The emergency switchboard shall be located in the same space as the emergency source of electrical power if it is generator. The emergency source is a storage battery with the switchboard shall be located as near as practicable to but not in the same space as the accumulator battery. The emergency switchboard shall be supplied during normal operation from the main switchboard by interconnection feeder, which shall be adequately protected in the main switchboard against overload and short circuit, and which shall be disconnected automatically at the emergency switchboard upon failure of the main source electrical power. FPN storage batteries, except for those who starting emergency generator sets, shall not be installed in the same space as the emergency switchboard. Period of operation. The emergency generator or storage battery shall be operated continuously at the emergency loads specified in the table, except as modified section 2.28.16. The arrangement shall be such that empowering source of emergency power will come into open automatically in the event of failure of the emergency power supply emergency generator. Adequate capacity for safety of crew. The emergency power available shall be sufficient to supply all service necessary for the safety of the passengers and the crew in an emergency. Due regard being paid to such service as may have to be operated simultaneously. Adequate capacity for emergency loads. The power available shall be adequate to energize the emergency load as specified in section 9.9.13 and table 9.28.4 for a period of 36 hours. Emergency electrical system for cargo ship. Self-contained. Number 1. Self-contained emergency power source. In cargo ships of up 500 gross tonnage and upwards, there shall be self-contained emergency source of power as specified in section 9.28.1.4, located above the uppermost continuous deck and outside the machinery casings to ensure its functioning in the event of hard or other casual causing failure to the main electrical installation. 6-hour operation. The power available shall be adequate for at least 6-hour continuous operation. Loads arrangement. The emergency load as specified section 9.93 shall be so arranged so that they can be energized from the emergency power source and capable to operate as specified in section 9.28.1.5 and 9.28.16. Sufficient number of lights. A sufficient number of lights throughout machinery spaces and shaft tunnel, if any, permit to performance of essential operation and observation under emergency conditions and to facilitate restoration of normal service condition. C. Adequate lighting for passageways. An adequate lighting for passageways, stairways exist for escape trunk and passenger quarters, crew quarters, public spaces, machinery spaces, and work areas to permit passenger and crew to find their way to open deck, survival craft, embarkation, and assembly station with waterlight doors and free screen doors closed. Periodic testing. Provision shall be made for the periodic testing of the emergency source of power and temporary source of power, which shall include a storage battery indicator. An indicator shall be mounted in the machinery space, preferably on the main switchboard, to indicate when any storage battery is being discharged. 6-hour operation. The power available shall be adequate for at least 6 hours continuous operation. Tilt and trim. Arrangement shall be such that the complete emergency installation will function as specified. Half-hour duration to supply emergency lighting continuously for half an hour. 2. Watertight doors. To close the watertight doors if electrically operated, but no necessarily to close them all simultaneously. 3. Indicators for waterlight doors. To operate indicators if electrically operated, which show whether power-operated waterlight doors are open or closed. And sound signals. To operate the sound signals if electrically operated, which give warning that power-operated waterlight doors are about to close. And last but not the least is the emergency electrical system for mobile offshore drilling units and habitat.